Let me bang. I do let you bang. Hey, let me bang you, baby. I let you bang. I let you bang. Greetings, marrieds and virgins.
Go for Jesus. No for gay Jesus, people.
And I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for your favorite mixed martial arts podcast. Recording out of Los Angeles, California, it's MMA Roasted with Adam Hunter.
Who the fuck is that guy?
What's up, people? It's me, Adam Hunter here. I'm here with the best MMA podcast in the world. Here with Greg.
In the world.
It is the best. Fuck everybody. I'm happy with the show because we bring it. We always fucking bring it, and it's always a laugh. And we interview people that people either don't want to interview. We interview everybody, which is what I like. We don't just
but you're also very good at catching. You're also good at catching guys that you could see on the cover. I mean, I'm pretty sure you were the first to have Aljamain Sterling.
Aljamain and Colby Covington and a couple other guys. Yeah, no, 100%. And we're also, but I also like guys like aren't in the UFC anymore. I like interviewing everybody. I don't, you get the same people. Fight comes up and everyone just goes after the same 6 guys or 10 or 6 girls. And I'm like, nah. And then you get people that give you canned answers or the same. They're just tired. They don't want to do it. And yada yada. Or I don't know. I like interviewing people when.
Hey, listen, you have your own formula, man, and it works for you, and it keeps us different from everybody else.
Fuck yeah. By the way, how are you, man? What's going on with you?
What is going on? I just shot an episode for an HBO show. I'm not sure I can talk about it yet, but I mean, that was something I did yesterday, and that was super fun. And you know what's so funny? The creator of the show, director, very famous comedic person, who I was he's the director, so I was so looking forward to meeting. Of course, he wasn't there. I don't know. He just wasn't there. They're like, oh yeah, he's not gonna be able to make it till later. He said he was very sorry. Blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh, that's fine. I just was really hoping to meet him. That's all. So, it is what it is. It was still great. It was still a great experience. And you guys, you'll all see it when it comes out later, early next year.
I like it, man. Good for you. I had a crazy week. First of all, I saw the Rolling Stones Sunday night. And I got to say, I was blown away. I thought they would Mick Jagger's 78 years old. I saw them when I was 86. In 86, my dad took me. And my sister, 86.
And they were 86 years old then.
I was 8 years old back then. And we actually went the wrong day. We got to the tickets. People were in our seats. Then we looked at our tickets. We're like, uh-oh, we're supposed to go to tomorr's concert. But
they let you in anyway. God, you got to love the days back then when, there were no barcodes or anything. We're like, oh, yeah, come on in.
No, we were already in. They already
That's what I'm saying. You got all the way in with tickets to the wrong day.
Yeah, and then we just stayed anyway. And it was a great concert back then. But this one, Mick Jagger is doing a CrossFit for 2 hours, running back and forth, dancing, singing every note. I don't know how this 78-year-old man does it. It defies logic. It was sold out. The only problem was when we got there, right? Parking was we left an hour early and still barely got there on time. Then we walked a mile to get there, and it's a huge stadium. It's where the Rams play now. It's just huge. SoFi Stadium. And then they're like, oh, you can't have your purse. You can't bring your purse in to my wife because it has to be clear. So,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So now we have to walk all the way back to the car. So I sprint back to the car, right? And I'm thinking.
Where were you parked? Were you parked at the Forum or were you parked at SoFi?
At SoFi, but still, it was a mile, right? So now I sprint back, right? Because I'm like, why would you park at the Forum? The concert at SoFi. I didn't realize. I'm such an idiot, right? So I'm driving, and I'm also high. I got really high beforehand, right? So I get there. They're like, oh, you also need your vaccine card, which was in the car, right? So then I have to sprint back. So now I'm thinking of Mick Jagger. Thank God it's Mick. I'm like, oh, he's sprinting. I can sprint too. So we missed the first 2 songs, but and then we're it was tickets were $350 for the pair, which normally gets you good seats. We were the last seats. My wife was scared. We were the fireworks went off and we were above the fireworks. We were looking down on the fireworks. But I got to say, man, I was blown away by how good of a front man and how And the guy's got a 4-year-old kid. He's 78. He's got 9 kids.
Listen, he can't get no satisfaction.
Dude, it was – I mean, I had a joke about they should call themselves the kidney stones at this point. But no.
That's a good one.
No way. I take that joke back. Like every other band concert I've ever seen, every other front man in the world is like a distant, like there's no one that can compare to Mick Jagger. Nobody. You can't give me a front man that could go put on.
I don't know, man. I saw the Stones in the 90s.
Yeah.
And they were old then. And I felt like, okay, I've seen them. Like, it's not like, and also, and here's the thing that I don't think people realize, but they've put out like 27 albums between then and now. They keep cranking. No one listens to them except for like the hardcore fans.
2 hours.
But
2 hours full
I don't.
Dude, 2 hours full of hits. Dude,
I don't know. They bore the shit out of me personally.
You're out of your mind. So then Thursday night, right? I get booked. I get booked Friday night at this golf course. So I take my daughter there because they told me they'll give me a babysitter at the golf course. It's a charity event, and they give me a list of stars to roast, right? So I'm roasting all these stars, like just going crazy all night long. By the time I get there, right, it's a 3-hour drive to Dana Point. I got my kid, and she has to pee on the side of the road a couple times. We have like a porta potty, like she's
yeah.
The only bad part is that the pee leaks onto my foot. So now I'm like, because anyway. So because I have to figure out that system better. So we get to the gig, and the first comic's on there, and he's actually a really good comic, and he's doing well. He's doing what he should do, but nobody's listening. I mean, people are just. There's like one table listening, and all these people, I guess they played golf all day. It was a tournament. It was late at night, and people were just circling, socializing, having full-on conversations. And he's doing masturbation jokes, which was great because I'm like, I don't have to be clean. Fuck this, right? So then I get up there afterwards, and everyone I had written a joke about left, except for like 3 people, right? So there's like one table actually listening to me. One table. But they're all like the Real Housewives of Orange County. I mean, there's a lot of money. They were the best. And I was like, oh, you guys, I'm like, oh, you guys would be laughing more if you could move your faces or
nice.
The Oxycontin's working. And I got everyone listening. Everyone's laughing. And I'm like, all right, you know what? A couple people are here. I'm just going to roast the people that are here, So I was like, oh, the Bachelor's here. And it was the Bachelor that got into the farmer guy that got into a car accident. That he got a DUI. So I'm like, oh, you're the only one whose golf cart has a breathalyzer. And,
nice.
Then he's like, huh? Now people are hiding from me. They're not laughing. Then I fucked up my own set by roasting. I should have just kept with the comedy. And then I was like, dude, I'm like, Kendra Wilkinson, the girl next door, she was supposed to be there. I'm like, you inspired so many young women to share their husband. I just was like, but then people were like getting mad that I was roasting them. Like it went from like really good to like me just shitting on everybody. But then I got back and somebody offered me a sponsorship actually. Because I was like, what do you do? He's like, I'm the CEO of what? He wants to be the spokesperson. And it was actually a great event. My daughter had fun. They had like this woman that does like kids parties that watched her for an hour. So that was cool. That was Friday. So now I'm feeling good. Saturday. And by the way, my wife was in France for the week. So I had my daughter.
Right. Yeah.
I have a whole new respect for single parents. Like single parents, like holy shit, is that exhausting? And I had my dad helped me a little bit. I told you, my dad helps me, and he's like, "Oh, come to wrestling practice." So we walk into the school, and I'm like, "Something smells like marijuana." It was my fucking dad. I'm like, I had to kick him out of the fucking gym. I'm like, Dad, this kid's here. What are you doing? He's like, oh, really? I don't smell that bad. I'm like, come on, Dad.
That's awesome. Good for him.
So we do a show Saturday. I had 2 shows. I double booked it. I forgot I double booked it. There's 2 private parties, right? One at a bar and 1 private party. First one, it's a Mexican bar in Pico Rivera, a place called Iguanas, right? I walk in there. It's like a base. They're having a fundraiser for a football team, Mexican coaches. There was 19 Dodger fucking videos up, a Dodger game. Right? It's the 9th inning.
And it's the playoffs. Exactly.
Playoffs. And they lose in the fucking 9th, right?
Oh, now the audience is pissed.
Hey, fucking and I got to go on first because I'm like, hey, could I go on like before the host basically because I got to get out of here. So then everyone's fucking they're like everyone's mad. Everyone has Dodger hats and people are like. So then, I'm like, man, I really feel like I'm actually at Dodger Stadium right now with all these Mexicans, right? But like, people are like, huh? Like, luckily, I won them back. But that was that, right? Then I drive like 100 miles an hour to get to my second gig, right? Second gig, it's in a backyard, right? So I go in there, and the comic on stage, there's no light. It's a fucking huge backyard, but there's like...
How did you go from one shit gig to an even shittier gig?
Dude, they have like a kid's playground in the back. There's like a soccer goal that's netted in. There's like 15, 25 people there. The comic's on stage. There's no light or anything. It's in the back on grass. And this woman, this big woman keeps going, "You suck." Every fucking joke he does. "You suck." And he's like trying to come back, but he's like, and no one's shutting her up. So I go to the guy who runs it. I'm like, "Hey, are you going to shut her up?" He's like, "I can't. That's the owner's sister-in-law." I go, "Just so you know, I might make her cry. Just fair warning. She might cry when I'm on stage. She does this, she's going to cry, right?" So he goes, "You suck." Then he gets off stage, right? And he's all fucking mad, this comic. He's pissed. And she follows him around going, "You still suck. You still," the whole fucking, so like, it was madness, right?
So was there something that he said to her before you showed up? I feel like there's obviously some context here we're missing.
Well, I guess she was talking to the first comic too, and then she was drunk. And so then I go to the owner. He's like, the owner of the guy, he's like, "Hey man, my name is Jerry. Thanks for coming to the show. It's my wife's birthday, blah, blah." He goes, "Can I get you anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, a Coke." He goes, "I got mushrooms." I go, "No, a Coke."
Very similar.
So like, he's like, "Oh, I thought you wanted cocaine." I'm like, no, I want a Coke, right? And then he goes, so then the wife is like this hot blonde.
"I get a Coke. I got mushrooms." That's nice. He came right out with that. Mushrooms are back, baby. People are really into it.
The wife is like drunk, hot blonde, and I guess she flashed her tits to one of the comics, and he was into it. So I go on stage and I just start murdering. I actually was like ripping the whole. I didn't give a fuck at this point. And by the way, Scott Baio was babysitting my daughter at the time. Like, because I ran out of babysitters, and I asked the Bayos to do it. So I got to drive back and get my kid. And she's having the best time. She's watching movies and Frozen 2 with her daughter, and they're making stuff. But I'm like, I got it. And actually, Scott hit me up. He's like, "Hey, sorry, you can't pick up Violet anymore. We're keeping her." You know, like, which I thought was really sweet, right?
Yeah.
So I go on stage, and I just start fucking murdering everybody. Like, I go from, being on Last Comic Standing to someone's backyard, and then here I am, like, what went wrong in my life? How did this happen? I start, old people, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's laughing. The owner comes over. Somebody starts making fun of me. An old guy with a mustache. And I'm like, "Is there a school near here? Are you allowed 100 feet within?" Just fucking killing him. And the owner comes up to you while I'm telling jokes, puts his arm around me. And I'm like, "Hey, man, could you please take your hand off me?" He goes, "No, make more jokes about him." I was like, he goes, "He's been married for 24 years and his wife, and he doesn't know his wife's phone number." So I'm like, "Well, I'm sure everyone here has it. It's the suicide hotline, right?" But I'm
nice.
like, "Sir, please just get off me," right? So then I just start killing him. And then it was just the craziest fucking gig. Afterwards, the guy gave me $100. He gave me $100, right, as like a tip, but I didn't know that. So I was like, "No, I'm supposed to get this amount," right? And he was like, "Oh, this is just a tip." So that was awkward too, because like I didn't know who was paying me. The booker was paying me, dude. It was just one of those. It was a crazy gig. I mean, it was fun, but geez Louise, that I like earned my fucking that was that. So,
I give it up for you. I don't take a lot. I don't typically do those anymore, and I probably should. You don't need to, and yet you still do. I don't understand it, but you love taking those gigs. I would have said no to all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the. It was crazy. Then like then it was just
like Iguanas. I haven't done that place in like 2 years because I was like, because this thing, like, it's very, very Mexican, and I'm Mexican, and they were like, "You're not Mexican." They're like, "You're not Mexican. You don't belong here. Get the fuck out of here, you fraud." And I was like, "You know what? You're right. You guys, I'm not that Mexican. Like, what do you want me to do?"
Well, the guy, I mean, look, it's one of those things where if I'm in a good mood, I say yes to everything. And the people book me that far out, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm free there." And then I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm always like, "Oh, I can always cancel if something else comes up, And I mean, and then it was one of those things where the guy started videotaping me, the owner. And I'm like, "Hey, can you please not tape me?" And he's like, "Come on, this is great." I go, if you don't put this away, I'm going to just walk and leave. I'm going to go home. Like, and then he put it away. But then afterwards, there was so much funny shit happening. I'm like, man, I wish you would have taped me.
That's the way it goes, man. If the camera's running, though, it wouldn't have gone that well. If the camera was running, it would have been disastrous.
Dude, I'm so neurotic that like so afterwards, like after the concert, like my wife was like, I could tell, you know, it was a fun night. And like, it was just like, so I'm like driving home and I got my arm on her leg and she's like, I think she's about to give me like roadhead, you know, but I'm on the 405 and I'm like kind of nervous, you know, about like driving, you know, and then I start thinking like, well, if she gives me roadhead, she's got to take her seatbelt off. And I'm going to hear that annoying fucking beep, beep. Like this is like,
and that's when you realize you're Jewish.
that's gonna annoy me, and then I'm like, am I gonna be able to come with that fucking beep sound? Yes, it will, but it will distract me. Well, I guess I put the music louder. So I'm like doing this whole. It's all in my head. Like I have like such OCD. It got better. It's gotten better through therapy and pills. But like I used to have such bad OCD, Greg, that like I would get so nervous at things like I used to have girls like in college. I didn't know it was OCD at the time. A girl would be like, hey, I want to give you, you know, I take her back to her place, the college dorm room, whatever it was, a party, and she's down to fuck. And I'm like, oh man, is my ass totally clean right now? I'm like, yeah, it is. But what if I get naked and I still have like, you know, sometimes like you randomly wipe your ass. Like sometimes there's like not shit on it, but it's not the cleanest. And so then I'm like, so then I go and like,
asshole.
So then I'm like wiping my ass. But then I'm like doing it to the point where it's like taking me like 45, like I have to get the perfectly wiped ass. And now she's like waiting because I'm like, well, if my ass stinks, then she's going to tell people and I'm going to be known as like dirty ass guy. And then I'm going to have to drop out of college and no one's going to like me. It's just like this whole fucking, like, it's like, remember those commercials back in the day for DirecTV where like, if this happens and that happens, and then it happens. Whoever wrote that has OCD to a point, to a T. That's exactly what it is. You start having like the worst possible scenario in your mind. Like, oh, I'm going to get roadhead and then the thing's going to fucking beep, beep, beep. And I'm going to get in an accident. I'm going to smash my car and I'm going to kill my wife and I'm going to have to kill myself. It's just like this whole fucking, anyways, that's why I take Celexa.
But did you get, I feel like you thought about it so long, you never got roadhead.
I've gotten roadhead plenty of times.
I meant on the way home from the concert.
Oh, no. We waited till we got home. Yeah. One time in Florida, I pulled over on the side of like a rest stop with my girlfriend at the time, and we started like banging. And then all of a sudden, a cop came and like lit up, like he thought and it was like talk about a fucking deal breaker. Like that was just awful. It was an awful situation.
Yeah, that's bad.
All right, so let's talk about some fights. So Did you watch the fights over the weekend? I
watched some of them. I did. I watched some of that main card. I did not watch the 5-round, whatever, you know, Aspen, whoever show. I skipped that one, but I saw the rest of the main card.
All right. So basically, it was a good fight. I mean, it wasn't a good fight. It was actually a pretty terrible fight. It was like almost like a glorified sparring session because Aspen Ladd versus Dumont. Ladd couldn't get started. She just was like not having a good – she missed weight 2 weeks ago. And took this fight on short notice, up a weight class that she'd weighed in last time. And it was one of those things where she just wasn't there. She just couldn't do what she.
Can I tell you one of the reasons I didn't watch it is because I saw your tweet where you're like, I didn't think it could get any more boring. And I was like, I fucking knew it. So I just didn't bother.
Yeah, it was terrible. But the most exciting thing about the thing was her coach. Her coach was like screaming at her, not screaming at her, disciplining her like, all right, what are you doing in there? You're ruining it. This is not what we trained to do. Like, get your head out of your ass. Like, to the point where, like, Misha Tate tweeted out, like, and she doesn't even like Aspen, this is abuse. And another fighter tweeted out, I think Bilal said, it's like he's doing it for the camera. Like, he went from, like, and so then it became a huge debate on whether or not that was good coach.
So it became more about the coach and the way he was trying to berate her into performing better.
Yeah, and he did tell her what to do. But at a certain point, like, even as a coach, you have to realize, okay, this is not working. Me scolding her is not working. Let's try something else. And he didn't have a game plan as a coach. So it was like his negativity. And while I guess he's a good coach, this guy, Jim West, I think his name is, he even apologized on Instagram saying, I need to get better as a coach. But it wasn't abuse. I disagree with Misha's thing. It wasn't abuse. It just wasn't very positive. It was what she needed to hear.
Well, first of all, it shouldn't have been the main event. It shouldn't have been a 5-rounder. I mean, come on. At what point do you – and that was the thing I watched the promo at the beginning of the show, and they're clearly trying to build up somebody in the women's division. I mean, that was clearly the point. One of these ladies has got to eventually take on, I guess, Amanda Nunes, or who's the champion in the featherweight division?
Yeah.
Anyways,
45 too.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, they're trying to build up somebody, and it's like great, but I mean, putting them you're not helping yourself with make it a 5-rounder, no less. Like Holly 3 Holm, rounds is plenty.
Well, it's supposed to be Holly Holm, and then Holly Holm couldn't do it. So now it's like Arlovsky versus Felipe was the second card. You know, it's funny because anytime these fighters call out Arlovsky, these young fighters, they always lose. Whenever these guys call out like the veteran to get a name, it seems to always backfire, and especially the heavyweight division. And this guy Carlos Felipe just seemed like he thought he was in a boxing match because all he was doing was throwing head strikes and head punches, and he had power, but another weird. Jim Miller beat.
But that's heavyweight. But that's heavyweights in general. Heavyweights in general don't show a lot of versatility. They don't show a lot of weapons. It tends to be mostly a boxing match with a few kicks thrown in there. Occasionally they wind up on the ground, which always looks ridiculous. No, I mean that's not. I mean you're saying that's what he does. That's all any of them do.
Yeah, but it was like very noticeable in this one.
And I got to tell you, I was kind of with Carlos. He was so shocked that he lost. I thought at least it would be a split decision, you know, because it wasn't exactly – they almost treated it like Arlovsky was a champion and Carlos didn't do enough to take the title.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought he did enough to win at least – I don't know. I thought he had a good shot at winning the fight. I really did because Arlovsky I didn't think really didn't do that much at all.
I definitely think he won a round. And then Jim Miller looked awesome. Well, he got hurt early. The other guy took the fight on like 10 days notice. He's the guy that Ian Harris trains. You know Ian, the comedian?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was worried about him, actually, for this fight. He was concerned. I felt bad because I like Ghost Pepper and I like Ian Harris.
And the worst part was it looked like he had a very large contingent of family in the venue, too. That Eric Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Like there was a whole, fucking section of family, and they were all screaming and everything. And actually, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, that's not good, because Mexican families, it's a lot of pressure and a lot of distraction.
Mexican families are the best families. Out of all the cultures, I've never seen, like, from coaching, almost every time the kid has a wrestling match, the parents show up. It's never. No,
the family loves to show up. They love to support, but it can be a lot of pressure. You're performing because you also know no matter what happens, they're going to bring it up over and over again.
They're the warmest and most loyal. Like they get their kids to practice.
But they can also be the most cold-blooded, and that's the fear, man. Because like I said, win or lose, like you lose, they're still going to bring it up. They're going to bring it up like you want. It'll be like, except that time you got knocked the fuck out. Remember that? Oh, yeah? What are you going to do? Get knocked out again? So it works both. It cuts both ways, sadly. And I just remember thinking that going, wow, that's a lot of pressure having that much family. I mean, because it's in the Apex. It's not like there's a lot of people there. So his family was a good, a third of the audience.
I've been coaching for 13, 14 years wrestling. I've had like lots of Mexican kids on my team,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a season where the parents weren't there for the kid. Like every practice, they can pick them up, take them there on the weekends. It was never like a money thing. A lot of times they were not the richest parents, but they.
No, but exactly. I mean, you got to understand. This is just something to do. We can't afford to go anywhere. We're not going to Six Flags. We're not going to fucking Magic Mountain shit. No, we're going to go see your cousin wrestle. That's what we're doing today.
But even not usually, but a lot of times the kid is terrible. Like they come and just watch the kid get his ass kicked.
Yeah, again, it's just something to do. It's free. Let's go, everyone. Get in the mat. Andale, let's go. No, we're going to go watch your cousin wrestle. Let's go. No, he's terrible. He's going to lose. Let's go.
So yeah, and then this girl, I'm telling you, the girl Manon Fiorot.
Dude, watch out for Manon Fiorot, boy. She's a killer. I liked her. She to me. Her and Nate Landwehr and Jim Miller, they were the whole card. They were everything worth watching. Was those first three.
Nate the Train. I felt bad for Andrew Sanchez because every fight the kid wins, or a lot of times he's winning the first 2 rounds, and then he just falls apart in the third. Like he gets exhausted. He's got to figure out a better way to train because he's a great fighter, but he just always loses. Not always. A lot of times his losses come in the 3rd round. Nate the Train was great. Happy for
He
Nate.
was great. Looked great.
He also went to a different camp. I think him at a big camp is a good thing because I feel like he was doing his own thing in I think Tennessee or something, and he was like kind of like the big fish in a small pond. And
right.
Over at I think it's MMA Masters with Colby Covington. And
he looked great, man. He had a great fight. That girl, the one that fought men, and Maria Bueno Silva, it was weird because all she would do is like shake off Mannon's hits, like no, but then she wouldn't return fire. And yeah. I'm like, yeah, she's hitting you. You know, you all you're doing is nodding. Fucking throw a punch. It was weird.
By the way, you know who's at MMA Masters now? That transgender fighter. The one that had like the picture where he has like where she has an axe in her hand. You see like the before and after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's training with Colby Covington, like in that gym. And
does
Nate,
Colby know this?
And Nate the Train. I got to see these practices. This is a very interesting situation.
I feel like we know and Colby doesn't know.
I'm sure Colby knows. I'm sure Colby doesn't care. He doesn't care. I mean, first of all, she's training with women,
right?
For the most part. But I just would like to know, like how that happened. Out of all the gyms, you know, like she picked the one that Colby trains at. But that's just, you know, Colby doesn't give a shit, right? So
I don't know. It seems like the kind that actually would give a shit, but you know, I mean, but he doesn't own the gym though, does he? He's just like their star guy right now.
Yeah, he's just their star guy. So in Bellator, I don't know if you watched Bellator Friday night.
I started it, didn't finish it. I don't even know how much of it I watched.
So the big one was Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson beat Ryan Bader, and Bader had the whole crowd in Arizona behind him, and it was like he got hit like right here, right, that equilibrium shot, and he was done. It was like in 51 seconds. Corey Anderson really.
Well, it's okay because they're going to have the Cyber Ninjas review the fight, and they think they're going to be able to find more punches for Ryan Bader.
It was crazy because I like Ryan Bader. Should just stay at heavyweight. He fucks everyone up at heavyweight. Heavyweight, he's like beats everyone, and then he just at 205 he's having a tough time. But good for Corey Anderson because he's been through it. Henry Corrales won, happy for him. Ben Henderson lost, which sucks.
You know, it's so weird. Ben Hendo, talk about a guy that's really kind of, I mean, in his prime he was so impressive, but in this twilight of his career you wonder what happened to the other guy and if he should even continue fighting.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the problem is, like, I've seen him train like 4 or 5 years ago, 4 or 3 years ago, maybe 4. He's amazing. Like, he was killing all these people in the gym. He was next level. So maybe what he's doing in the gym isn't what he's doing in the fight, and maybe that's what their coaches are seeing. So that could be it. Maybe it's a mental thing because when I saw him go in the gym, he wasn't getting tired. He went, I think, like 20 rounds against everybody and was dominating in a great gym with professionals, like with like high level guys. So it might just be the lights, you know?
I don't think so because he used to not have that problem. I think something has changed for him, and I don't know if it's desire. I don't know if it's damage. I don't know what it was, but the guy that he was and the guy he is to me they're two different people.
Been around for a long time, taking a lot of punches, that guy.
And I think that's it. I think it's just the damage is just accumulated, and he's just not the same guy.
What's up, people? I got some really good news. Okay, we are back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Yep, I'm talking about BetOnline. BetOnline remains your #1 spot for the basketball and football action this season. You got to head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code CLNS50 to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC. Boom! Right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait. Take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Greg Wilson, come on back. So Dylan Dennis, you know who Dylan Dennis is, right?
Yeah.
So he got
your favorite punching bag, Dylan Dennis.
Well, he got choked out by a bouncer, right? What happened? What happened? So he says the bouncer who choked him out is actually the cops are interested in him right now. He's a person of interest because he impersonated a police officer. So he said 9 guys surrounded him at the bar. There's no video of this. And then one went behind them, said he was the cop, took him down and choked him out. It didn't seem like that was what had happened on film, but that's the story he's going by.
Okay. How does any of this save his reputation?
So I guess he was at a wedding in Manhattan. He was allowed to walk. He was on crutches. He barely could walk. He says he went in there. He showed him my age and his passport, his vaccination card. I was like, he didn't have his wallet on him. So then they back and forth, becoming a thing. I'm not allowed to move. So I'm standing on the boardwalk. I would have left, but when you're in those places, you can't call Uber. I'm sitting there, and then these guys start getting confrontational. I bring a bunch of the bartenders from inside. I swear it's like 9 people, and they surround them. They were egotistical. They're just trying to fight me. I'm like, no one touched me. We don't have a problem. One guy keeps tapping me on my head, and it's like, what the fuck happens if I do touch you? I was like, this fucking guy, bro. I was like, bro, stop. I'm trying to have fun. Don't do that. He's like, okay, I'm doing it again. He goes, tap me on my forehead. Then a fight ensued. During the scuffle, someone jumped on his back. And said he was under arrest. He stopped fighting back, and then now they're after him. That's his story.
It sounds so plausible. It really is the most believable story that he went there innocently. Of course, he's an innocent lamb in all of this. There's no way he said anything inflammatory. I mean, the guy just wanted to attend a wedding, and these guys attacked him. I mean, that's definitely the way this played out. It's always weird when somebody tells you their version of a story, and in your mind you can hear how cherry-picked the moments of the story are to make them look, without blame whatsoever. And everyone's always just so innocent. And I love that somehow he's like, and as it turns out, this guy was impersonating the police. Okay, that's the problem here, is that this guy yelled that he's a cop, and then okay, I don't even know what to say about it.
Has anybody ever been arrested for impersonating?
I will say this though: this is the problem with being a famous fighter, is that everyone sees you as their shot at the title. There's all these guys who never actually fight but train. They train, but they never, they're not fighters, and they see this as their opportunity to see where they are in their training, and you're it. And these guys, and I will. So that's the one caveat I will lend to this, and the possibility of a certain amount of credence, especially Dylan Dennis, who is famous, but not necessarily for being a great fighter, but for more or less being almost a heel and in the MMA news world. And so, these guys, they see it and they're like, oh, I'm going to show you. And also, you get up next to these fighters, you realize a lot of them are pretty small guys.
Yeah,
these are not big guys, and then you're up against this big guy. There's no weight divisions at the bar. This is just some big dude who's like, oh, I want to take out a professional fighter. It's like the same thing with comedians and the guy that's hanging around and wants to be so funny. And I have a friend like that. The second I'm around, he starts saying all this shit, and I'm like, dude, fuck. And it's always like bad crowd work, and I'm like, hey, okay, easy, you're funny, I get it. You're driving me fucking nuts right now with this shit. So I think that there is some of that comes with being a professional, famous fighter.
Yeah, 100%. I just don't even laugh when people do that. I know they're trying to be funny, or I fake a laugh. But I just laugh when the person pauses because I think that's the punchline.
Totally. I do the same thing. I just try because I don't want them to keep trying to make me laugh, you know? Yeah. And the worst is when they're like, I got the comedian to laugh.
You know, I should be up there and I should be up there.
Yeah, like, you got me. All right, thank you. Right.
Yeah, I just tune out. I tune out so much. I tune out with my wife sometimes. She tells me something and then I'm just like, I just hear like it's like that peanut noise, like with the Snoopy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I go, wait, what? Yeah. And then I go, what? And I make her repeat herself because I'm like, oh, now.
Oh, listen, I think every husband goes through that. My wife constantly is like, I told you about this. I'm like, okay, but was I listening? Okay, because if I'm doing something else, you talking while I'm working doesn't mean I'm listening to you.
100%.
Like, but you need to make sure. It's so funny. She's figured out that it's such a old programming from my childhood that if she says my full name, I'll pay attention.
That same here.
She'll say the first thing, and then she'll say Gregory, and then I'll be like, what? And then she'll did you hear what I just said? No, of course not. Can't you see I'm doing something?
Dude, I get the middle name, Adam James Greenberg. That's what I know. When the middle name.
Ooh, yeah.
Or when she's mad at me, she goes, dude. When she calls me dude, when I get a dude, I'm fucked. Like, you get a dude. There's certain code words. Like when a girl used to call you, hey buddy, you're like you're not.
You're over. Exactly. You're not in the the sexual partners list.
But I hate sometimes like
or friend. Hey friend.
But I don't. Okay. But it annoys me when female comics sometimes are like, hey, you want to do my show next Tuesday? Goes, oh, thanks, love. And you're like, why are you calling me love? Like I don't like this is like like
I don't know. I do that a lot myself. I'm like, thanks, love. Thanks, dear. You know, and I'm just
female comics. Pretty comics? Really?
Yeah.
I'm just
like, but nothing's meant by it. I mean, it's just
I know the problem is
because I don't want to call them dude. I don't want to call them ma'am. I don't want to call them lady. You know what I mean? So it's trying to find something that's somewhat familiar and positive. And then oh jeez, it's just fucking tap dancing on landmines these days.
The worst is when like I'll copy and paste like invites to comedy shows, like, hey brother, want to come? And then I send it to a girl. She's like, you just call me brother. I'm like, well, I don't want to assume your gender. That's
quick way. That's a good way out. That'll work.
Yeah, you have to, right? So Fedor is fighting this week.
Saw that.
He's fighting Tim Johnson. We love Tim Johnson. He comes on the show all the time.
Bellator? This is Bellator also, right?
Yeah, it's Bellator.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tim Johnson. We Tim comes on the show. He's the guy that was the bouncer, and he worked at a bouncer strip club, and an Uber driver. And he went to Bellator. He won 4 out of 5, doing really well. He has to go to Russia to fight Fedor. I really hope Tim Johnson wins. I think he can win. I think Fedor is way past his prime. Tim Johnson hits really hard. I mean, as long as he doesn't let the moment get to him, because it's going to be like 50,000 people in Russia cheering for Fedor. I think Tim's got this.
I think a fight like this, when you're that far away from home, it all comes down to how much time you give yourself to acclimate. If he goes there a good, week and a half in advance and gives himself time to fully get acclimated to the time difference and everything and then be in rhythm, I think he could absolutely do it. But if he shows up 2 days before and he's all fucked up and trying to sleep during the day and awake all night, then that's the kind of thing that ends up playing a much bigger part than you think it will.
But it's a Bellator promotion, so hopefully they'll take care of him. Like if he was fighting in ACB or some Russian promotion, they would put him up at the days in and wake him up all night, make him do press at 4 a.m. Like they would try to do everything they possibly can to give him a horrible experience.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully Bellator doesn't do that.
Let's hope. I love it. So you can tell this sucker's in Russia too, because the next one, Vettori Minakov.
Yeah, I don't
Usman Dergdomagdeyov, Anatoly Tokov, Pietrik Pitiela, Sharaf Devatre Mudrovodov.
Yeah, their whole budget went to Fedor for this one.
Yeah.
Pick 7 guys.
Although, you know what? This may actually be an opportunity to see a lot of great Russian fighters that we just don't know about. I mean, there are a lot of great Russian fighters. I don't know if these are any of them, but I mean, this may be a chance to see some guys like, fuck, I can't believe we've never heard of that guy,
Right. 100%.
I mean, this guy, Anatoly Tokov, 29-2. Sharaf Derafdin Murakadov, 18-3. I mean, these guys might be fucking great. I look forward to I actually kind of look forward to seeing this.
Dude, this is my wife's cat, and she's really pretty, but she'll like meow, meow, meow. If I don't pet her, she attacks my foot. Like,
dude, that's the way cats are. Cats are just like girls. If you don't want anything to do with them, they're like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you have anything to do with me? And then if you want to be around them, they're like, fuck off.
And then you pet her for like a minute, and she attacks you. Like, it has to be the exact amount of petting she wants.
Right. And then she's like, okay, enough.
Dude, she's ridiculous.
I hate cats, to be honest.
Really? I have 3 of them. My other cat, when we brought home that pregnant cat, there was a pregnant cat following my wife home. And it was obviously a homeless cat. So we took it in, and it gave birth I don't know if you remember this. It gave birth in my bathroom. But my other cat, my female cat that I would never see, my first one, was so angry about this. She shit in my bed for 3 weeks when I was away. For 2 weeks. I was a week and a half. I was away. So I came home from the road, and I plopped in my bed, and I'm like, I'm in a fucking cat litter. There's just cat shit everywhere.
Oh my God.
I was like, who did this? She jumps in the bed and shits in the bed just to let me know it was her. Did it right in front of me.
Oh my God.
Fucking pregnant bitch. Like, I'm the only, it was crazy. And then there was, we have a male cat, and all the babies were following around the dad. They thought he was the dad. It wasn't the dad. Yeah. It was a male cat, but they looked like him though. So they were all like, "Dad, is that you?" And he's like, "I'm not your father. Leave me alone." So Grant Costa is fighting. I love Grant. He's been on the show. 17-1. He won a fight with 1 second left that he would have lost. 1 second, he got the tap. He's fighting Ricky Glenn, a guy who's been around forever. This is a good fight. Grant Dawson could be a chip. He's out of
where are we? What are we looking at? These aren't Bellator
UFC,
now, are they?
UFC cards.
Right. That's what I thought. I was like the Costa Vettori fights here, right?
Yeah, Costa Vettori. I'm excited about this one because everyone has just shit on Costa because of this one bad night against Israel Adesanya, which he looked terrible. All right, let's
yeah.
But
he looked he looked miserably outclassed in that fight.
But he's also a guy that knocked out Johnny Hendricks, knocked out Bang Bus, knocked out Uriah Hall. Beat up Yoel Romero. This is a good fighter.
Who did Vettori just lose to? He lost to somebody good.
Israel Adesanya.
Right.
It was a rematch.
That's right.
And he lost every minute of that fight, too.
Yeah, that was bad.
Beat Howard. This should be a good fight. I'm excited for this one because they're both.
Listen, this is the action you tune in for. None of this Aspen Ladd garbage. Fucking, and I'm sorry, it's nothing against her or the other one. I don't even remember the other girls. The only reason I keep saying Aspen Ladd because that's the name that sticks in my brain. But I mean, it just. I was just like, come, you know what, guys? How about just not have one this weekend? How about that?
No, they got everyone prepared. It was Holly Holm bailed out a week out, and they had tried to get a replacement for Holly Holm. I mean, they also did the numbers, and they knew that they tracked it, and. It is what it is.
Anyways, the point is, this is UFC. That's fucking Invicta shit.
I think the Apex is helping them out too because they don't have to sell tickets.
Right.
So when you only
they're just creating television content. Yeah. Which is cool, man. Totally cool. I just felt like that whole thing just fell apart. But this is a card. This is fun, and this should be a banger.
Should be a banger.
Of a headlining match. The leather is going to be flying, baby.
Or it could suck. Or it could be two guys staring at each other, and they both get hurt early, and they just have a staring contest.
I don't think Vettori can get into that kind of fight. He's not wired that way. He is a move forward fight guy. No matter what Costa wants to do, Vettori is going to make this a fun fight.
His last fight, these guys both froze their last fight, though. They both froze against Israel Adesanya.
I wouldn't say he froze so much as he was getting beat up.
But this is the first fight they're both going to have coming off a loss. I agree. On paper, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not going to be negative Nancy. But you never know. Sometimes you get these fights on paper, you're like, there's no way this can't be.
No, that's true. And we have seen that a million times. We're like, here we go. And then you're right. Everyone faints. Faint. It's like, fucking fight. What are you doing?
As soon as they say, oh, the first round was a feel-out round, I'm like, it's fucked. As soon as they go, they're feeling each other out this round. I'm like, this fight sucks. Nobody wants to see a feel out round. Also, Jessie Jess is on the card. We love Jessie Jess. She's awesome. Came to my birthday party, my daughter's birthday party. She turned 2. She showed up. And she texted me when my dog died because she slept in the same bed as my dog. Her and her friend were house sitting for me, and my dog slept in between them. Miles was like, there's going to be no funny business on this bed. So she's fighting Jocelyn Edwards. Jessie Jess, when she leaves herself alone, is a very dangerous fighter. I
thought you were about to say when she lets herself go. When she lets herself go, that's when she'll be in my price range.
Also, Bruce Leroy is fighting.
He's back.
Seungwoo Choi. Seungwoo Choi is he's a guy coming off a win over Julian Erosa, Zalal. He's won 3 in a row. You know, it seemed like a lot of these guys that were coming over from Korea or China didn't have the power in the beginning.
Absolutely.
But now they do. They're all of a sudden, I don't know what type, maybe they got a different strength program over there.
Whatever it is that they figured out, and again, it might be the travel thing and arriving here sooner and spending more time here and being more acclimated. That maybe they weren't taking American fighters very seriously, but I agreed. Like, there was a long time when they were coming over and just getting killed, and now they're coming over and they seem to be doing the killing. And although I will say this, Alex Caceres, you know, I got to give him points. He's gotten better. I mean, he was one of those guys. He was a Showtime type guy, popular name, came out, won a couple fights in a row, thought he was going to be the hot shit. Then he got beat up a bunch of times. And I didn't know if he was going to go back to the drawing board or not. He seems to have, and he seemed to have gotten a lot better.
He's won 4 in a row. You know, he's only 33 years old. I think when you see the guys in The Ultimate Fighter, like, they seem older on TV because, you know, but then you realize how young they are. Like when what's the name came to my show, Sean O'Malley came to my show with his friends. It looked like high school kids. It looked like 3 high school kids.
Right. Well, they were high school kids.
They was 21, 22. He was young. But when you see him on TV all ripped and doing these amazing things, in my head, I become like a little kid watching this, a fan of them. But then when you see them in person and they come, you're like, oh shit, this is just a kid. Same with Gastelum. I mean, Gastelum, I went out and partied with him one night in Vegas, and he brought his friends from home, and they were like these like chubby, dorky guys. They were fun as hell. But you're like, this is not the same guy I saw on TV. You know, like it adds perspective to how young these guys are. They're young, you know. Even when you talk to them sometimes, like I forget that I'm 20 years older than these people. 20 years older. I mean, you know, Kay Hansen, and then they have these problems like you're like that a 21-year-old would have. Especially with athletes. Like I watched the 86 Mets documentary. You know, Dwight Gooden was like 19 years old. You know, he just had a great fastball. It was a great pitcher, but he was still 19 years old.
Yeah.
So Dwight Grant versus Trinaldo, that should be a great fight right there. Kama Worthy he actually came to my like special, and he's like, roast me. I didn't know he was coming, so I didn't know what to say about him. So I was like, you better win your fight. You lost your last 2, otherwise you're not worthy. And that's it's gonna be bad karma. Like I was like, this is the worst dad joke. Now that I'm a dad, I guess I can make. Dude, I made the worst dad joke today ever. I almost deleted it. I put it on Twitter because it was so bad. You know, Kanye changed his name to Ye. You know that?
Did he?
It's officially Ye. Y-E.
Okay.
I go, he should tour with Wiz Khalifa because it'll be Ye Wiz. It's like the stupidest fucking joke. But like, it made me laugh.
It's just dumb enough to be funny, though, you know?
It made me laugh. Mason Jones is the first fight on this card. This kid's 10-1. He's a monster. This kid is a fucking monster from Wales. He's really, really good. He lost one fight to Mike Davis, but this dude is going to be the next big thing from out of Wales. I don't know why he's even the first fight on this card. He's fighting.
Which card? Oh, is it in the early prelims or something?
Wait a minute. According to MMA Junkie, they have him fighting a girl.
I was going to say, I don't know what you're looking at right now.
He's fighting David Onama this week on the prelims. Who's 7-0. David Onama is fighting Mason Jones. Brandon Marcos is fighting Lavina Souza, who looks.
Okay, for me, I'm seeing the first fight as Jonathan Martinez versus Aaron Phillips.
That's not even on this.
I'm on UFC's site.
They got to figure out MMA Junkie because they just MMA Junkie, which is my favorite news website, but they have fights that like aren't happening and they keep them. And
I was going to say, who's right here? Does MMA Junkie have? Maybe they updated their stuff before UFC did.
It would definitely be the UFC.com.
That's what I would think too. I mean, it's kind of they're pretty much I mean, they got the money, they got the staff, they got to
Yeah, they don't even have the undercard on this. Oh, prelim.
I mean, they have Random Marcos versus Lavina Souza.
Yeah, they have Alan Patrick versus Mason Jones. But Mason Jones, he's a minus 675 favorite. That's how good much of a guy.
Holy crap! Look at Alan Patrick. Holy cow!
That guy's huge.
I mean, that guy, huge.
Yeah,
he looks like that guy.
Right. Martinez, Aaron Phillips.
If he came up to you, he's like, "Give me your keys." You just give him the keys. You wouldn't even.
Dude, somebody had a joke about that. How Bernard Hopkins, I think Earthquake had a joke about that. He got arrested for strong arm robbery, which means you rob someone like without a gun.
Right.
Give me your money. Like that's how much of a fucking badass you are.
Dude, there's some dudes you're like, here you go. There you go. You got it. Have a nice day. Can I just have one card? Can I have like my ID?
It's crazy. So what
but Alan Patrick, man, he looks dangerous. Mason, although anytime it's like this where you look at it and on paper you're like, oh yeah, this kid's going to get murdered, the other kid wins. I mean, almost every time. And so you know what? 670. If I'm in Vegas this weekend, which I might be, I'm throwing some bills down at Mason Jones.
So what's his name? Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, on Mason Jones or on the other guy, on Alan Patrick?
Or on Alan Patrick, rather.
Yeah, I mean.
Wait a minute. He's plus 475. So he's right. So he's the one. I get this fucked up so often in terms of which one is favored.
Favorite is the guy in the negative.
In the negative, right? Right. Okay. So I'm sorry. Throwing the money at Alan Patrick, 475. I mean, listen. If anything, he's probably going to bring a knife with him to the fight. I expect him to win by shiv in the third.
So Brendan Schaub apologized to Ariel Helwani. After that, he says he doesn't want to ever talk about him again. He respects him. I don't know.
Now he respects him? Okay.
I guess it was entertaining. I guess you have to stop it at some point, right? What does Schaub win by beating up Helwani, right?
Nothing, especially since the guy's like probably one of the most credible voices in MMA reporting world. I mean, he's the one that gets to be on ESPN. He's the one that gets to, go out there and comment on all this. It's pretty much the last guy I think you want to make an enemy, But after what he said, I wouldn't apologize. After what, I mean, if that really shits on you that much, you don't say, like, I'm sorry, or like, I guess he didn't say, I would just be like, not talk about him. I mean, just, I don't know. So maybe it was one of his incredible jokes. Got one against Schaub. That's one. We don't have McCorkle here today, so I had to throw one in there for the Schaub master.
So Ronda Rousey gave birth to La Akia Makala Pua Kalana Nipo. That's the baby's name.
Okay, so she gave birth to a Hawaiian island.
Or her husband, Travis Brown, who blocked me on Twitter, so I don't really want to fuck with this dude, or in general. But yeah, so I guess obviously it's a Hawaiian name. There's a lot of letters there. But she posted a picture of her on Instagram of her breastfeeding. Like you can see like her full boob, and then saying, "I want to normalize this." Which I mean, I don't have a problem with that. Like, why not? People want to breastfeed. Like, what guy is against breastfeeding in public? Like,
yeah, I guess it makes some people uncomfortable. Some people are just like, puritanical, where you're like, you can't show that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it definitely, like, I got to take a double take when I see it. Like, I'm like, whoa. And then I don't want to scare too much. So I don't be like the fucking pervert, like, oh, titty. you know. But at the same time, it's like I don't know. Like, it's like those guys. Like, what man is going to be against free the nipple? Like you have to be insane. To be against that. Who cares? If we want to walk around topless, first of all, it's usually not going to be the best looking girls. Not that Ronda's an attractive girl, but that are going to want to be free the nipple. Normally, like, you go to a nude beach, it's not exactly like, I guess the ones in France or Italy are probably different, but the ones in the U.S., you know, the girls look like.
How do you spell Misha Tate? I'm trying to look her up right now. Is it Mischa?
No, it's Ronda, not Misha.
Oh, I thought you said,
Ronda Rousey.
Oh, Ronda Rousey. Jeez, where's my brain today? Okay.
And she posted a picture of her on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. What? That's not even, you know.
It is what it is, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that's like against it. Like, who's saying she can't do this? Right? Like Instagram?
Possibly. It could be against their little settings or whatever, you know. But, you know, she's got the little bubba there. She's just doing it's nothing weird there.
No.
I mean, can you spank to it? Depends on who you are, I imagine.
How are you going to spank? There's a baby there. You have to cover the baby. And then it's just, you know, a photo.
You can barely see the baby. The boob's bigger than the baby, that's for sure. But I don't see anything. I couldn't. I'm just saying somebody out there probably could.
Conor McGregor beat up a DJ at an Italian bar. You hear about that?
Yes, I did.
I guess he broke the nose of a DJ. Didn't drop him. Second guy in a row he hasn't dropped. But McGregor, somebody on the underground pointed that out. That like this guy is supposed to have this fucking amazing power, and just two guys in a row that he didn't drop. I don't know what the fuck McGregor's doing. Is he trying to give away all his money? Like, what is he doing? Like, why are you punching Machine Gun Kelly and bouncers and DJs? I mean, Greg, you do cocaine. Does it make you just punch everybody? Like what?
Not me. But it depends on how you're wired. I think, you know, that's the thing. He's one of those guys, you know, again, he's like our buddy that can't stay out of jail. And, you know, yeah, man, I mean, some of these guys, he's just like that. In other words, he just has so much energy shooting out in every direction at all times. They're wild horses. Like, this is stuff that I don't think they can control it. I don't think it can be controlled. I mean, the only way it could possibly be controlled through medication, which is that really what you want to do, is zombify somebody. I mean, but some of these guys, they just, you know what I mean?
A fucking bartender or a DJ. Come on, give me a break. I'm not.
They just, well, I mean, they want to, again, they can't control themselves. They're just wild horses. I
mean, he's obviously going to get sued. The guy's got 1 million followers. It's not a good look. No one thinks you're tough. No one's happy. Bro, what are you doing? You at one point, you got to a point in your life, you were a plumber. You were a fucking plumber. And you hit the lottery. You worked your ass off. You have amazing skills, amazing power. You got a four-part documentary on Netflix coming out. You got movies. You have everything. You have movie roles offered to you. You won the fucking lottery. You got a great wife. You have kids. Anybody you want to fight right now, they'll give you the fight, including Poirier. They'll give him that rematch, or if the Poirier versus Oliveira. You can't just chill the fuck out. Like, what? You're at the Video Music Awards. You got to fight Machine Gun Kelly.
Apparently, this fight, like it was hours after McGregor and his girlfriend had their son baptized at the Vatican.
You go to the Vatican, you baptize your kid, and then you go punch a DJ? Like, that's the after party? What are you doing? Why? Why are you doing this? So somebody needs to get him some, like, legitimate mental help or into a rehab program or a fucking full-time, you know, sponsor that just you pay the guy to keep him out of trouble because he can't do it on his own. Something is wrong with this human being. And it sucks because he's so talented. And John Jones has the exact same problem. These guys are...
Yeah, and apparently they had been hanging out all night. And then he was like, you want to go to another party? He's like, yeah. And then he just fucking punched him.
Oh, him and the DJ were hanging out all night?
Yeah, apparently they were all hanging out. The DJ and his wife, Connor and his his partner, and then like some other people. Apparently they've been hanging out. I'm reading it right now. They've been hanging out for like a couple of hours at one party, and then we're about to go to another party. McGregor's like, hey, do you want to go to another party? He's like, yeah. And then he fucking punched him in the face.
Well, that's our podcast. Anything you got coming up?
This Wednesday night, People of the Inland Empire. I will be with Corey and Chad, the Smash Brothers, Gabe Lopez from The Dirty at 12:30 in Las Vegas, and Kabir Singh from America's Got Talent. We are going to be doing The Dirty Show Wednesday night at the Ontario Improv. So please come out and check us out there. I'm going to be at a place in, I think it's in Cerritos, and I believe it's called Litos, for a show on Thursday night. Litos, I believe is the name of the place. All this is on my Instagram, at Greg Romero Wilson. And then this weekend, I may or may not be in Boulder City, Nevada, doing a show outside of Las Vegas. It was scheduled until yesterday, and now they don't know what the fuck's happening. So we'll see if that happens, but that's what I'm doing this week.
Tomorrow night through Sunday, I'll be in Lansing, Michigan at the Funny is Funny Comedy Club in Lansing, Michigan. Come check it out. Should be a lot of fun. Thank you, Greg. You're the best.
Thank you, Adam. You have a great one, brother.